Welcome back to the OTC podcast. I'm Tarun Verma.
And I'm Abby Koenig.
So, Abby, this one kind of hits home, or actually really hits home with me, but do you write reviews online?
Here and there. Usually when I'm really pissed off, I do.
That's the wrong way to do it.
I know, it is the wrong way to do it. And I know that. Like, I've read all the stats about it, and I fall right in with that. Like, when I'm mad, I'll write one. But this is saying something totally different. That Yelpers, I guess... I didn't know this about Yelp, that there's like sort of an elite group of Yelpers.
Oh, I'm an elite member.
Oh, are you?
Mm-hmm.
So you probably know more about this.
Yeah, so what happens is if you write enough reviews a year, I don't know what it is. Again, this is a private company, so they can really write their own rules at any time. But if you write enough reviews, you become part of the elite squad. The elite squad just means that every month, Yelp is a company I've really been following since their infancy, and I've really loved what they've done, although I didn't particularly care for this article, what it was saying about Yelp, because again, I don't know their intricate workings. But what happened is that this website started off as a review website, just like any other list. I think it's like Angie's List and stuff like that as well out there. And started off with just restaurants, then moved into pretty much anything.
Yeah.
And you just write reviews on whatever you want, convention centers, plumbers, whatever. And it was all self-driven, self-peer driven. And what happened over the years was they realized what kind of gold mine they had. And so they started building this community group in each city. There's a person who leads the group or whatever. And what they do is they put on events with local restaurants, venues across town. And a lot of these events are open to Yelp members. And then for the Elite Squad, it's more smaller, more expensive events. Like there was one I went to a few weeks ago at a Smash Burger that just opened up out in Willowbrook.
Okay.
And it hadn't even opened up yet. It was going to open up, I think, in like 2 weeks or whatever. But they let us come in. It was just really a fun event. They brought out everything on the menu. Okay. And we got to sample it all. We got to try it all. The milkshakes, the burgers, the fries, everything. If you never knew what Smash Burger was, it was a great intro. If you did, then you got to try all the other products you may never have tried before.
Right.
And so those are reserved kind of for the elite members because they contribute more, right? Because these are the people that are really making up a good chunk of their business per se. And it's all free. I mean, these guys are doing it for free. Why not throw them a free event from time to time? And so they have, I remember when I was in Dallas, they gave us a free tour of the American Airlines Stadium and let us watch a game. Like,
that's cool.
Front row. I get to high five Dirk Nowitzki and all that.
Fun.
I mean, we're from Houston, so I obviously have to say I hate Dirk, but it was a cool experience nonetheless. And free food, free beer, all that jazz. And so they're really, really fun things that they've really done as a company. But here they're saying that they've gotten really elitist with what goes on there. Because again, it's a private company. They have to pull a profit. So now there are people who are paying Yelp for favorable reviews.
Right.
And at the same time, in markets that aren't as big as Houston, so say Boerne, Texas, or whatever, these podunk towns, they're actually paying people to go out there, try the food and all that, and write favorable reviews.
Right.
And that's what people are having an issue with.
Sure. Wouldn't you? I mean, don't you feel like that's weird?
I do, but at the same time, as a company, if Yelp is all about strength in numbers everywhere, right? So because again, wherever I go, I use Yelp religiously.
I do too.
I mean, I'll go to Philadelphia and be like, best cheesesteaks in the city, you tell me Yelp, and that's where I'm going. Same thing with New York. I landed in New York one time. I said, where's the best pizza, my man? And by my man, I mean Yelp. Yeah. I was like, tell me where to go, and I'm gone.
Yes.
You know, I rarely pick up like Sagat or whatever, Zagat, and look at their reviews. It's all Yelp.
No, I use Yelp same way. Like if I'm in a new town, I have the app, I use it. But this made me kind of question that. Like, well, if people are being paid to do good reviews, then do I trust them? I mean, I always thought the purpose of Yelp was this is completely, because I just want to help the community and I want to say how my experience was, and now... or
it's fun. I also like writing the reviews. I find them very enjoyable. A lot of people
have a good time with them. But I don't know, as a consumer of Yelp, like, this made me kind of question it. Like, I don't know if I want to actually follow people anymore.
This goes out a lot broader than this. So I know, like, Amazon is flooded with fake reviews all the time. And so I always take the reviews I read there with a grain of salt. Yelp, I kind of trusted more because I assumed I was a bigger part of it than just an auxiliary member. I
Right.
thought I was a little bit more involved. But to see that the corruption seeped into Yelp, I was kind of like, darn,
Yeah.
it happened.
And I've heard other things, like a couple years ago, I had a student who had a company and he got all favorable reviews on Yelp.
Mhm.
And I'm sure he told his clients, hey, go on Yelp, you know. And Yelp flagged his account and they took away a lot of the favorable reviews because they said that they were, unless you were like either an elite Yelper or you had like 10 plus Yelp reviews or something like that, and you gave somebody 5 stars, they pulled down the 5-star review.
Well, see, that actually makes me feel a little bit better that they're flagging it better. But at the same time,
But
you
then,
know,
like-
other websites have introduced it in there. I mean, it's how as a company were you not going to say, well, okay, Ralph Lauren, if you're paying me $50,000, of course I'm going to let some stuff come onto my website.
Yeah.
Of course I'll let your ghostwriters write some reviews for me. Like, it's going to happen eventually, right?
But then it's sort of like against everything that they're supposed to be. Because then, I mean, then you think about
Yeah.
Angie's List, and I've never signed up for Angie's List
I
because I
have
don't want
never
to pay
either.
for it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to pay
cheap.
for it
Yeah.
either. I was like, I'd rather Yelp it.
Yeah, exactly. But then if somebody's monitoring everything and it's like, well, I pay for this
Mm-hmm.
subscription to get real honest reviews, then maybe that's a better model. I mean, I understand Yelp needs to make money. I get it.
They do.
But-
It was just a bummer to read it
Yeah.
because I have actually put in a lot of time and energy into my account.
Sure.
I've written reviews everywhere I've gone. It was just a bummer to read it. It really, really was. Like, I know that Yelp kind of hit me hard because I was a part of it.
Yeah, no. Well, let me ask you this. If they called you up or emailed you and were like, hey, you're one of these elite reviewers, how about we pay you to write reviews? Would you say yes? But they have to be good ones.
Here's I am a fan of the gray.
Okay.
And I'm a fan of the green. So, you know, I would probably say sure, why not? But I would preferably say, you know what? This is something I like to say I've maybe helped build a little bit. I've been around for Yelp before they even had all this jazz
Yeah.
and the bells and whistles. I would say, well, what's the need for it? I'd at least have an honest conversation with them about it and say, why not just, if people's food sucks, people should know it sucks.
They should
Just,
know, yeah.
you know, and I'm not one of those snooty people who never gives out 5s or anything like that. Legitimately, if I went there and I had a ball and my stomach had a ball,
Yeah.
you get 4 or 5 stars from me.
Yeah.
If the food was inedible, you get like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
If it was unedible and I couldn't finish it, I'm very generous with it. But at the same time, you know, I guess it depends on the money. That's where I'm coming from. I guess it depends on the money.
I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to be a reviewer. I don't know how. And I've done it. I've written reviews about theater and art and stuff like that. It's like, and you start to become like, you're either become friends with the restaurant owners, or you're like, oh, I got free food, or oh, I got, you know, money to write a review. Now I'm gonna dump on them. That'd be so mean. So let me just be kind of nice.
Well, no, not always, because I've had both things happen. So again, I've been doing this for so long. When Yelp first started, the restaurant owners themselves were never on the site.
Right.
So I wrote unfiltered stuff, and I'm very unfiltered with my writing on Yelp because I was like, it's a creative thing for me. I'm not getting paid, so I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So a lot of it tends to be like I relate like innuendos and food together, and sex and food together, and foodgasms and whatnot. So I use that kind of colorful language in my reviews. And I remember certain times I had a bad experience somewhere. The owners, this was years later after Yelp was already established, they sent me a note saying, hey, we read your review. We were really disappointed that you had a bad experience. Would you like to please give me a call? I'd actually like to know how we could have made it better. We're trying to improve things. And I was like, wow, for a really douchey review I wrote, that was a really cool response from the owner. And so I called him up. I was like, man, that's just, if you did that, I need to go my step and just give you a call. And we had this really candid conversation about why I thought, and it was a hookah bar on at the University of Texas. And so he was like, well, what can we do better? Like, I just bought this place over. I'm trying to redo it. And I was like, whoa, man, this is right up my alley, man. I grew up at this place, and I think it's gone down, and here's what. And it was a really cool conversation. I was like, this is right on. Now, the other side of it, too, I've written some really good reviews. People have sent me, like, gift cards and stuff, like owners. They're like, give us your address. We're glad you had a great time.
Super cool.
Here's $20 to come back and have more sushi with us.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I still don't feel inclined to write positive reviews in hopes that I get stuff in return.
That's good. That's
So-
a good kind of thing to, because, I mean, that's PR, right? That's the best PR that you could do is if somebody dumps on you, you call them and to have like a, two-way conversation. And it's sort of why the internet's so awesome because we can have, everybody's got a voice now.
Yeah, you got a voice, and that's my big thing is like, we should do whatever we can to protect it, right? So Yelp in its infancy was a lot like Facebook, right?
Right.
It was not messed with. It was its own bubble, and now this article is showing that it's no longer this bubble.
Yeah.
It's now prone to the outside poison and
Yeah.
stuff. And especially when these things get big enough, right? When Amazon got big enough, now you're just like, I have to read 50 reviews just to get a consensus. But Yelp, I always read the first 5 ones, and I'm good. I know whether this is a restaurant I want to eat at or not.
Yeah.
So, but now if Yelp keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you got to read about. My brother does that. He now reads 15 to 20 of the reviews before he's like, okay, here's what we need to go eat at this place.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a bummer. It's kind of a real big bummer.
No, I think it's a bummer too. Because then you wonder, is it really good or does somebody just get paid to say it's good?
And I mean, food's one thing, right? But it comes down to even bigger stuff when you're working on like house repairs and stuff like that, right? When you're dropping huge money. Like a bad burger here and there, who cares? We all have a bad burger a week, But when you talk about like roofing, plumbing, house stuff, pools, you need to get a pool built. One of my friends I work with, her husband builds pools for a living. Those things like 10, 15 grand to build a pool. You want to make sure you do your research. You want to make sure that research, those reviews are legit.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess that's why the Better Business Bureau started, like, way back when it started. But now it's not really, I never think, like, let me go to the BBB and check this company out. I'm like, let me go to Yelp or wherever, TripAdvisor if I'm going to go, on a trip or something like that. But, yeah, you can't trust shit. That's the bottom line. Excuse my language.
No, that's true. It was just, this one kind of hurt just because I was such a huge Yelper, such a huge foodie, and to see that kind of stuff happen in there. And these people are all doing it for free. That's the worst part, They're helping you create this business empire from free people. Yeah. It's all from the people, voice of the people. And it's just like, you turn around and you see these companies stabbing them in the back, and it's like, oh, that's just tragic, man.
Yep, that's the way it is.
But anyway, so that's the end of that. I do think Yelp is actually going to get bought out very, very soon, or is going to go IPO.
I would think so,
go public, because they've gotten really, really huge. And so they actually have an elite squad. Now they have like a gold elite even higher now. I don't know how you get it. I don't know what happens, but they're increasing it in size so much. So I'm trying to get the gold. I don't know if I can, but it's just...
If you hashtag it a lot with this podcast, maybe they'll find it and they'll find
There
you.
There it is. Well, all right. Well, that ends the podcast for today. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.